But the risk, good Lord. People always wonder what happens after you die. No one knows. You know, people pretend to know, but no one knows what happens after you die. But I know what happens to you right after you die. I know what happens directly after you die. You are found. And this is where it gets tricky. And it's always by a loved one, you know? And you don't want your son walking in going, ah, what the fuck? The fuck is dead? What cat? Huh? And that's how you'll be remembered forever, you know? Doesn't matter what else you accomplish in life. See, people are under the misapprehension that that their life is like a motion picture that will be remembered as such, but it's not. It's just a photograph, you know, a still photograph. And that's unfortunately how it is. But, you know, like if you think your son will remember you as, I remember my dad took me to Disneyland in the blistering heat, and by God, he stood in line to get Mickey Mouse's autograph. It took him 2 hours. It was for me. He knew it wasn't the real Mickey Mouse. He had to have. He was an unemployed college kid. And yet he stayed for me. Ha, Dad. He had 2 jobs, you know, to put food on my plate and my brother's and my mom's. 2 jobs. And I remember one time, I'll never forget it, he came home late at night, and I was in bed. I was pretending to be asleep, but I wasn't. And he came in, and he was very quiet, and he came up to me, and he kissed me on that area between my forehead and the bridge of my nose. He kissed me right there, and he said quietly, so as not to wake me, I love you, son. And then he left. And the next day, I wanted to say something to him at breakfast table, but he was already out. He was driving hack. That was his second job. But my God, my dad... Anyways, they don't remember that at all. All they remember is, you know, because... Unfortunately, that's the way human beings are. I think if I were to do it, I don't think I ever would. It's going to be a pretty cool story for me right now. So I would pretend, you know, it was a real suicide. Like I would write a note, a suicide note. Do you think this would be funny, just as a practical joke, if you just wrote a suicide note and just blamed some random guy? Do you think that would be... You know what I mean? You know, like your barber or something like that, you know, you know, it was all Ralph Abernathy's fault. Because you know the police would be compelled to go to Abernathy's barber shop and go, have you ever heard of a fellow named Norm Macdonald? I go, yeah, he'd come in every couple of months for a trim. Oh, okay. Well, anyways, he took his life because of you. Wrote it here in this letter. Would you like to keep the... And then Ralph Abernathy would have to spend the rest of his life walking down. Life's hard enough without having to... That's not a good practical joke. I should never have framed that as a good practical joke, because it's probably the worst practical joke. You know, it's the kind of practical joke gets you raped by the devil for all of time. I came here from Las Vegas, Nevada. No, I live in L.A. Everybody go to parties in L.A., and I go too, but I'm no good at them. Here's my problem. I have no opinions. You know how people have opinions? I don't got none. I like political and stuff. Sometimes before I go to a party, I'll just turn on the TV, and whatever that guy said, I'll say that. But I'm not good. Like when I go to parties, I don't want serious discussions. I try to find somebody that's at my same level, and I'm good at it. I can, like, you know how they say guys have gaydar? They can see other gay people? I'm like that with guys at my same level of smartness. Like I can see a guy in the corner and go, I can keep up with that motherfucker right there. And then I make a beeline for that character. And then we talk about Jughead comics for a couple hours. And everything's fine. Sometimes people go, well, why don't you even go to these parties if you don't like, you know, talk? And when I was on the air, where do airplanes go from? Airports. I was in the airport, guys were asking, everyone wanted my ID, and it occurred to me that ID is a strange abbreviation because I is short for I, and then D is short for identification. So it seems to me D is doing most of the legwork on that one. But Vegas was cool. They have a motto in Vegas. They got their own slogan for the city. It says, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which is not true. You know, you can't kill a guy and then just leave, you know? They'll follow you. They'll find you. They'll bring you back and they'll try you in front of a jury of your peers. So I thought, well, what does it mean anyways? You know, and I ruminated about it. Days and days and nights. Sleepless weeks became sleepless more weeks. And finally, it occurred to me. It was so simple. It was right in front of my face the entire time. Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. All it really means is you can go to Vegas, you can have sex with a prostitute, and she will not tell your wife. They're very discreet. The Las Vegas prostitutes. You know? Not like these gossipy small town whores back where you live. You know? These fucking blabbermouths. Down at the beauty parlor with that pale blue thing over their head, whatever the fuck that is. Going, you're Marge Majerison, John Neal's wife? Well, by God. I took a shit on him last night. In exchange for cash. Nice fella. My favorite thing is the magic phones that we all have. You know, not so long ago, phones were not magic. They were just used to telephone people. And they couldn't take pictures, you know? If you wanted to take a picture, this was only like 20 years ago, you would have to use it. You couldn't use a phone. I remember I tried. Go, okay, just hold on there. Just. People go, what are you doing? I go, don't worry. I was kind of ahead of my time, but they thought. No, you had to use a camera, and then you would put film in the camera, and then you would go to a Photomat. It was wonderful, and you'd give it to this old man, and he'd go behind some beads and stuff, you know? And then you go, when am I going to see them pictures? And you go, I don't know. And then you go, I'll phone you every couple of weeks. How'd that be? And then one day you got the news. Your pictures were ready. And so you brought your whole family and you all showed up and you got that envelope. It was wonderful. And you opened that seal, you know, and then there were the pictures, a whole handful. Like you go, hey, look at this. is a picture of Aunt Ida, but her eyes are red like the devil. Maybe Aunt Ida's the devil. Hey, look at this. It's a picture of my dog, but I put a hat and glasses on it so it would look like a person. Still looks kind of like a dog a little bit. Hey, look, it's a picture of you. But look at your jacket and your hair. Ah! Look at the way you used to dress. Ah! Remember that hair? So you needed that time for the picture to make any sense or have any resonance. You know, nowadays you go, hey, would you like to see a picture of you standing right where you are 1 second ago? I got one here. Your hair is identical. Guess it would be, huh? In the real old days, they would take pictures like, and at my house I have a picture of my great-grandfather, and I only have one, you know? Back then, they only had one picture of everybody because they'd pull that thing and it would explode and all that shit, you know? And it was just nobody was happy because it took so long to get your picture taken. And so it's just my great-grandfather going, how long is this gonna take, Sarah? Who's gonna feed them hogs? Damn sure ain't gonna be Marjorie, I'll tell you that. Yeah, so like, you know, and when I was young, it was one thing, and now it's a whole different thing. And I was wondering how many people have been to the moon, like have actually walked on the moon. So I looked on my magic telephone and I found out only 13 or 14 in the entire history of the world. You would think that would make you very, very famous. But no. The last guy who walked, now you'd think he would be famous for being the last guy to be on the moon. His name was Harrison Schmidt. Now, who ever heard of him? Meanwhile, he goes all the way to the moon, hangs around there for a while, and comes back. He's not famous, but a girl with a giant ass is famous. Now, when I was young, a man who went to the moon was famous. And a lady with a giant ass, you'd go, can you stand over there? Because this is... Harrison Schmidt. So how many people that went to the moon do